Welcome back to the hustle and welcome back to the grind. Would you actually believe it? The society now gets so hung up on high-end items. Cars, houses, they'll never make you happy. Did you realize the average transaction price right now in North America or in the United States for a vehicle is about $49,000? The average loan that people take out for their car is about $42,000. That's minus, of course, the average down payment or trade-in value of a vehicle. We also talk about, average homes like this, for example. Houses like this, on average in this city, are about $600,000, $500,000. Whereas you go to bigger cities like Vancouver, Toronto, we know a lot of those cities, even down in the US, prices are all over the map, but it's not uncommon to pay $1 million, $2 million for a house. And while even $500,000 like some of these, that's a significant amount of money when you consider that retirement is only 30, 35 years away. So when you take out your mortgage on your big house and you're more or less house poor, that gets you right to the end of your working career, in which it gives you no time and opportunity to potentially save for your retirement. Hence, we wonder why so many people are snookered and stuck paying into a system that doesn't pay back. We all like to think that a house like this, we own it. Realistically, we never really own anything. You can't take it with you when you go. And if you neglect your payments on your property tax for 2 or 3 years, the city, for some reason, comes along and will take your home away from you. And that's after 30 years of paying for that property. We never own anything. Even once we're gone and we're 6 feet under, it somehow gets dispersed. All your assets have to be liquidated. And somebody, whether it's in through a trust or somebody receives it, maybe your child or a beneficiary, somebody might get your home, but there will be an end of the road at some point. And we all get hung up on the idea of having this big, grandiose, high house and upgrades and buying that new car. But it's those assets that aren't assets at all. They're liabilities. And those are the very things that prevent our freedom. I've talked about this before, about, having things and that used to make me happy, and they still do. I mean, I'm a car person. I love fun cars. But we got to remember that there's got to be an ends to a means, or a means to an ends, if I should say. And realistically, there's so many people that get stuck actually spending, getting house poor, getting car poor, and all at the expense of just trying to look flashy, trying to have that next big house. And a lot of people, they go far beyond their means. I have this neighbor that decided in all their infinite wisdom that their 3,000 square foot house wasn't quite enough. So instead, between the three of them in the family, they decided to upgrade and they went and bought a 15,000 square foot home. I guess just because they could. And that's all well and good. And I've always believed that as long as you're living within your means, everybody's at a different level. For me, that might seem excessive. Maybe for, the King of England or the Queen of England, that may not be excessive. But realistically, the thing that absolutely decimates our opportunity to retire or have freedom in our lives or peace in our lives are those very things that we call assets, in which reality is they're more like liabilities. I mean, I look around all the time, people buying these new cars. We're hearing, even though there's the car, they're talking about the car market crisis and vehicles. Obviously, sales are down and these car manufacturers are struggling to get vehicles to market. But on one hand, you hear those noise, but on the other hand, there's always somebody that's buying a new car. And so, if you can afford it, you need a new car, by all means. We, as a matter of fact, we needed another car for our daughter. And we actually went out last night, and instead of buying a brand new car, we bought ourselves an older Toyota RAV4. It's a reliable car, it won't need a lot of servicing, and when it breaks, it's simple and cheap. See, that's the frugal perspective that a lot of people should be taking these days. I mean, if you want to live high in your 30s and 40s, you're going to pay for it later. And that's the unfortunate reality. Because by the time you pop out on the other end of your working career, whether it's your 50s or whether it's your 60s, and all you've done is you've been house poor and car poor for your entire life, where does that leave the extra gap for savings for retirement? A lot of people don't have that extra money put away, whether it's into their 401ks, whether it's into RRSPs or mutuals or any other kind of investments. And if they're not able to save that money along the way because they're too busy spending it on these large houses and cars, then guess what? They'll work to the end. And we see it all the time. There's people that believe that we were designed and destined to work and be active and busy. I would agree that in most cases, humans were designed to walk on 2 feet. In other words, be mobile and up and about and being active. That's good. I love being active. We all love being active. But the worst part is, and I've seen this in relatives, I've seen this in people and cohorts and others that I know in my circles, that it's one thing to choose to be busy and active. It's another thing to have to do it, particularly when you're in your 30s or your 60s and your 70s. And when we look at statistics, right now, there's a whole pile of people that are losing their so-called assets. Why? Just in the pursuit of trying to look like they've got something more than they actually have. You know what? Repossessions of homes, mortgages are getting foreclosed on. We're seeing record numbers of car repossessions. As a matter of fact, right now in the US, we're getting up to close to 8 to 9% of car loans are getting repossessed. So where does that leave those people? Okay, poor credit, struggling. The next transaction looks like another car or house with terrible credit, means they're paying even more on interest charges and even further deeper in hawk. They don't have the money already as it is, and they're going to pay even more of it back to the government or to the banks. I mean, it doesn't take very long to look around and see how much of these banks actually, have the money. And I mean, it's not hard to see when you look around, go downtown, and some of the largest towers are the banks. I look at Scotia Bank, TD, like all these banks are the buildings and are the companies that are the biggest downtown. And they weren't built on good faith. They were built on the skins of the workers. And a lot of people like us, you know what? We work so hard. We pay all these big loans and mortgages off just so that we can come out on the other end feeling good about an asset that's already worn out. You buy a car, you go in there and you spend $80,000 for a new pickup truck, only to find out after you drive it for the 6-year loan term, now it's all of a sudden got 140,000 miles on it. It's got some rust and it's no longer today's news. And you're pretty much bored of it and starting that process again. And see, having fun cars, fast cars, having big houses, exciting places like this, upgrades like this home right here. You know what? Those are the things that get you excited initially. There's that dopamine hit that gets us all revved up. We all like having new items, new things. But it's that dopamine hit that we're constantly in the pursuit of that keeps us in poverty. And when we look at repossession rates of cars, repossessions and of mortgages and foreclosures, it's a sure indication that the economy is full of people that want more with less. And not only that, I mean, we're all guilty of this at some level or another. But again, living within your means allows you to have that flexibility and freedom that we all aspire to when we're in our 40s and 50s. Some people call it Freedom 55. I call it Freedom 53 because I got canned at 53 and I happen to be lucky enough to get bridged to 55. And now I'm in a position where I'm able to just keep on keeping on, doing what I do, running my side hustle, having fun and living the life. But I'm not doing it large and in charge. I'm not buying a new car. And I had that fun car before. I've had all those nice cars, but it leaves you feeling hollow. And I'll be first to admit, I like a new car like the rest of them. I'll give you an example. I just sold earlier this year a Jaguar. I wanted one for years. I used to see it on the videos. Everybody loves a Jaguar F-Type. I owned one. Okay, I had it for about 4 years. I loved it. Every single drive in that car made me feel good. It sounded good. It was fast. It had a 550 horsepower supercharged engine, and I loved it. And realistically, if you're a car person, there's very little cars better than that for the money. I saw it on Top Gear. You remember Jeremy Clarkson was featuring it, and it inspired such an energy and a passion in me that I needed to buy one. So a couple years later, I test drove, took one out, and then ended up buying one because I loved it so much. Well, that's all well and good. Fast forward 4 years, and I quickly realized that as great as a car as it was, I was starting to put the miles on. And because it was such a fun car, I wanted to keep driving it. Well, you keep driving it, you're going to put the miles on. Along with the miles comes increased maintenance and repair costs. And I started to see the writing on the wall. So it was almost a vicious cycle of, the more you used it, because I bought it to use it, the more it cost me to own and keep in my garage. So I quickly realized as the miles were running up on the odometer that I better get rid of this while it's still worth something. And fortunately, I did. But, do I regret it? Again, I've always said that I don't regret anything in life. And honestly, I used it. I enjoyed it for 4 years. And I made the best of it. Now, with that said, there's many times I looked at the car in the garage, and as much as I love looking at it and as much as I love driving it, it just, at some level, it just left me feeling hollow. Why? Well, because I'm looking at this vehicle and I'm thinking, well, there's a car that I use 3 months of the year, 4 months of the year. It's going down in value. It's losing money. And I could turn that money into something a little bit more useful. I don't know. I could put it down on mortgage, which ultimately is kind of what we did. Or you could use it in any number of ways. But there's so many ways that are more useful. I realized that I could turn that money into, knocking off some debt, which again helped fast track and accelerate us into potentially retiring and being debt free. That's all the effort. But owning assets like cars, houses, that all keeps you in debt. And the society and the system is designed to keep us feeling like we need the next greatest thing. When in reality, we went and looked and test drove that 20-year-old RAV4 that only had 70,000 miles on it, a few dents and scratches, but it ran like it was brand new. So when people are out there buying the latest and the greatest, getting in hawk, big debt, big loan payments for that new RAV4 even though it's a great car, that latest brand new version of it, people are spending a lot of money even for those. To spend $45,000, $50,000 for a loaded up RAV4, where we spend a fraction of that and get essentially a very similar driving experience. See, because once you're behind the wheel of any of these cars, whether it's a fast car, slow car, sadly, right now, we're in a society that no longer favors car drivers, people that enjoy a fun driving experience. Our society does not like people like that. Everything is designed to shun those people. Everything is designed to make you drive around at 10 kilometers an hour, speed bumps, photo radar, cameras. Sure, it's all great and it's all intended for safety. Public safety is the key. There's certainly a heightened awareness around public safety and responsible driving. But what that means is, without racetracks in the area to come and exploit your performance car in a safe environment, and streets that have a red light after every 50 yards, means a car with 550 horsepower no longer feels relevant in today's society. So now, not only are you spending all your hard-earned dollars on a car that's depreciating and costing you huge money for maintenance, but you can't even use it. I love cars. I'll never not love cars. And I'll always have something fun to kind of tool around in. But what I'm saying is you have to live within your means. And you have to have, a way to support the idea that we're all getting older. So these people that I met that had to upgrade to these 15,000 square foot house, they are similar age as me. The husband, I believe he's around 50 right now, and no sign in sight that he plans to retire anytime soon, and that's fine. But again, too many people these days get stuck in mortgage payments of $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month or more, car payments that are now 20% of the car loans out there are over $1,000 a month. Did you know that statistic? So if you're spending $1,000 a month on your car, then you're spending on a house like this, you're spending, I don't know, $6,000 a month, $5,000 a month for a house like that. Now you're pretty much house poor. That's after tax earnings too. So at the end of the day, what makes you happy? Do cars, houses make you happy? Yes, they do, for a short while. But what makes me ultimately happy is not having any debt, not having a mortgage, not having a car loan payment, and living free. That's what ultimately makes me happy, and truly the key to being early retirement, the key to being really retired early and having that freedom that we all seek. And the sooner we do it, the better off we are, because we're seriously not here for a long time. Hopefully we're here for a good time. Hope to see each and every one of you on the next one. See you real soon. Bye-bye.